Hello everyone, it is Mike Levin on Tuesday, March 10th, and I thought I would show you the first boot up of Ubuntu 18.04 from the Windows subsystem for Linux after a fresh reboot. This is the time delay actually of a first Linux startup. That's like a whole system startup you saw right there. If I were to close out of it and then open it again, you'll see it comes up almost instantaneously. This has to do with the way Microsoft has implemented Linux under Windows 10. And if you followed any of my recent videos, you know that I'm advocating you jump on the bandwagon, because over the next couple months, this is going to be accessible to you through the Microsoft Store. You'll just be able to go and you'll be able to get the terminal program. You'll probably get that today, although it won't do you all that much good without Ubuntu on it, unless you're interested in getting to PowerShell and the command line in some other way. And the other thing, you'll be able to get Ubuntu from the store. 18.04 is what I'm currently running, and then it'll just come up under the shell like this. Now, I have a few extra things going on, and I have commands like home and Github, and it'll jump me between different directories. I also have things like pipulate, which will get me into my code for editing, and let's see, I have other stuff, but profile is one of them as well. One of the things you'll start to want to do as you get on the Linux bandwagon, well, I guess the most important thing is start getting more familiar with text, with a real text editor. You will find VS Code a lot of places these days, and VS Code is really cool, but home. The thing that's on almost every Linux system in creation is the VI program. Now, VI improved is VIM, which is on almost an equal number of Linux systems these days. And I am going to vim my .bash profile, which is going to work because I happen to be in my home directory, and that's where it's kept. And so some of the commands you see me doing are simply these aliases, like here, this word here, profile. When I typed in profile, that's what happened. It vimmed home bash profile. And similarly, when I typed pipulate, it did this fairly long command. It actually did a couple of commands in there. You can see the semicolon separates them. And I do a few things. It's good to have a .bash profile around, which you can back up in GitHub, by the way. There's a whole education here, which is a little different from your typical Windows or even Macintosh education. And this is one of the great places it starts, managing your .bash profile. So I'm activating a virtual environment for my Python 3.8 environment. If I make another one of these, you can see that this little parenthesis thing here tells you that I'm inside one of these VENVs, and I can deactivate it. And you can see deactivate, if I spell it correctly, you can see it gets rid of the parenthesis here. If I hit return, my prompt is just the standard default. If we look over here and we see what's really happening, I'm typing source home pi38 bin activate. Copy that into my copy buffer, go over here, and if I cd to my home directory, which is the same thing, by the way, as typing home, I just set that alias, right? That's what this line is responsible for right here. So now that I'm in the home directory, I can ls in there and show you there's my two virtual environments that I've made with Python. These are directories. I could cd into it and you could have a little insight as to what gets put in here. And I could dig into these directories. It's always either the actual binaries or the links to the binaries for things like Python 3.8. So when I type Python, I get Python. Oh, look at that, 3.6.9. That is probably because I am, why is that? Let's type exit. And we're going to reactivate our Python venv. And now when I type Python, I am now in 3.8. You can see that line in the bash profile does so much. Once I have set up that venv, I ensure that I'm always in it. So whenever I pip install, it uses the right version of pip and puts it in the right location. So basically things don't go wrong. I won't go line by line, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Probably one of the most important to point out, and maybe even the theme of this video, is even though you have these wonderful locations ~/ as home, they are buried deep. In fact, if you look at the open thing, it's the explorer command, explorer.exe, to this. It's a little trick I learned on the Macintosh. So wherever I am, I can type open. And bam, it opens that location. There's that whole path here. And you can see these weird network locations. This is Microsoft's way of making sure that you can edit things in locations like your home directory. If I would just went one more directory up, this is ~home. So you can get to your Ubuntu home directory, but look at this long, awful, and network dependent, network path dependent path. So you can see here that what I really do is when I log in, I log into a GitHub location. And this folder is in /mount C user. Well, I'll just show you open. It's in a very standard location. It is unlike those network paths. And this is something you'll always be able to get to quite easily, no matter what software you're in. It's a standard C:\users, your username. And right in that username, where locations like music and video and all that stuff that Microsoft crams into your home directory, I put a GitHub directory there. So right there, GitHub, and then I have all my repo names there, so that no matter where I am, Windows side or Linux side, I have a really easy place to have all my repos. So when I log in, I can just cd Python SEO and have any of my familiar repos right at hand. cd pipdev, cd ... And if I'm Windows side, these locations are pretty much just as easy to get to. You know, you open your File Explorer, and there's a lot of ways to get there. You know, most people will have or should have something that is their home directory there. You'll see there's my GitHub directory there. But just another way to get in there so you understand conceptually where it is always going in through your local disk C, you know, really old school, going in through users, going in through your username, and once again, there is that GitHub directory. And so by always putting things here, you're going to be making a much easier time of things for yourself. For example, when we go into Jupyter Notebook, it's no longer Jupyter Notebook for me. I am trying to discipline myself to use Jupyter Labs. So when I double click that icon, which is taking a pretty long time to come up, again because I have just restarted my system, so these things don't have the advantage of being loaded in memory and cached. Close out of that. So I'm now in Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Labs, if I create a new directory here, I'll make it one word, new repo. And I have got a new repo directory in there. And it's like, you're in Jupyter Labs. Where is that? Everything is difficult, right? Well, not really. My new repo is accessible here through Windows side, right through my users, username, GitHub new repo. It's an easy path on Windows side, and cd new repo. Now, anyone who's struggled with that left-hand, right-hand problem, knowing where things are, to have this kind of unified file access, no matter where you are, whether you're here, in fact, I'll touch foo.txt. There's foo appearing Windows side. That was Linux side where I did that. This is Ubuntu 18.04 that we're in here. This is genuine Ubuntu, genuine Windows, and Jupyter Notebook. There's my foo text there. Let's see, it's text. I'll rename it to Python foo.py, and I'll put in here print bar. So when I run foo, I get bar, and so you can see it changed to foo.py. Put in that location for compiled Python stuff, and Python foo.py bar. There you go. So this video really is about the great unification you can get between the Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL, the general, say, File Explorer and the Windows side stuff, and as an added bonus thrown in, the Jupyter Notebook stuff and Jupyter Lab and easy access to files no matter where you are. That is a first step in getting yourself efficient, because the first question is, what are you using? Where are you using? Where are your tools? And so when you get this into your muscle memory, things start to flow, and it just really doesn't matter where you put things. Well, more specifically, you're always putting things in the exact same locations, which is this GitHub location, which no matter how you change your directory, home, so you're in a more traditional cd:/home, which has one buried deep location on Windows, so you don't let your home directory in Linux in Windows destroy the elegance of these great easy accessible paths. Not easy accessible paths, ~/home, your home that WSL2 creates, easy accessible path, one that is directly in the home of your home, in the root of your home, really easy to find. Trip over yourself and you're in that directory, and that will make your life simple, and you organize yourself around the nicknames that you give your GitHub repos. And for anyone who doesn't understand that, this will be my final thing. I have a new repo that I just made in there, and if I look in there, there's only the foo file, the directory that Python made for its little compiles, and these two things, which are virtual things, the directory above and the directory I'm in. It's just shorthand notation. But if I were to do git status, not a Git repository. Oh, well, we changed that by just typing git init. It now is a Git repository, and if I do that same ls-la, you will see there is now a new directory. It's a directory because there's a D there, and this is where Git puts all its internal stuff. And if I did a git status, you can tell there's new files in there. I could really keep going. This should probably be another video, but I certainly can git add foo.py, git commit my first file in this repo. And now a git status will only have a problem with this directory. And I can do one of the most common things I do at this point, which is to vim a git ignore. Copy this into your copy buffer. I should learn how to type it. Put it in there, save, exit. Add the git ignore to the repo, and now a git status is new file git ignore, git commit, added git ignore, git status, and there, nothing to commit, working, tree clean. I have added both foo.py and git ignore to the repo. Git repos know to ignore its own folder, as well as those two shortcuts. And the .git ignore contains an entry to make it ignore the Jupyter Notebook checkpoints. I was saying that's Python that puts it in there. That's really interesting. These are the Jupyter Notebook checkpoints. It's a different folder that Python will make eventually when it needs its little compile location. So it's a pretty good video, and it starts to get the point across that what I'm really teaching you here is a set of tools that, while I'm on Windows, it's not so much a Windows exclusive thing. It's something that Windows is just offering, kind of a lightweight graphic desktop shim, and it's really Linux. And when I say that, it's really text-based Linux, Python, Vim, which you can see, and Git, which you can also see, are just the two most important things once you get a Windows subsystem for Linux running and you are able to pull up these type of windows. The idea is, what do I do really at this point? Well, make sure you got yourself a GitHub location in your home directory. Make sure you have created yourself, by whatever means, your bash profile. Oh yeah, I'm not in my home directory, so home. Well, this is why I have these commands. I can just type profile, and you can see when I type profile, it's actually executing vim home bash profile. Get your aliases in order so that things are easy to do. You can jump around. That's really your starting point. This is your point of entry, because this file here is the first thing you can do in Linux. I hate to say start to customize as the first thing, because I actually resist customizing, and this is quite close to Linux default with just a few shortcuts that I can carry around. In fact, I carry around in my helpers directory everything having to do with my Vim profile or my bash profile and my sbin directory all go into here, so I can put things back in location when I need to. In fact, I'm not seeing my Vim profile. I might put that somewhere else. cd sbin. Yeah, I don't put it in there, obviously, but you can see my sbin commands that I put in there, and some of the other Python commands I do just to handle stuff like these Figlit ASCII greeting banners. All right, thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll teach you all about Linux.